Hello and welcome. The king of Islamic pop is how he's described, although he says his songs are not religious, more spiritual. Either way, Sami Yusuf is a phenomenon, selling millions of albums to people of all ages with a message of peace and faith. Since 2003, Sami's debut album, Al-Mu'allim, and his follow-up, My Ummah, have sold more than 5 million copies, while his concerts continue to sell out stadia, causing massive traffic jams. In addition to his musical success, Sami also works to build bridges between East and West, regularly championing causes such as raising funds for the victims of Israel's war on Gaza and bringing much-needed aid to Darfur. Well, Sami joins us today as he prepares to launch his latest album, a crossover, which has a greater focus on English-language songs. Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. You log on to livestation.com/AJE and enter the chat room, and then you can take part. And we also welcome your phone calls on the show. Sami, it's good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Reece.
I should congratulate you, first of all. You've got an honorary doctorate now from Roehampton University.
Yeah.
Finally got that doctor position that your parents
well, my
wanted.
mum is, yeah, precisely. She's really happy, and in fact, she cried when she heard about it. And thank God they're happy. I'm happy. That's the most important thing.
Let me ask you about this new phase that you're going through, and you're describing it as your real album, the one that's due out, and it's different from the previous selling ones, the Al-Mu'allim and My Ummah. How is it different?
I think, Riz, every artist goes through different phases in his life. I'll give you an example. For example, Beethoven composed a piece and dedicated it to Napoleon Bonaparte because he was really, believing in what was happening at the time and his ideal. And then he later took it away and said, "No, I don't want it to be." You cancelled the dedication. But people go through different phases in life, and I'm so proud of Al-Mu'allim, my first album, and I'm so proud of My Ummah. They were so blessed and so beautiful. The response has been so great. But I'm not going to make something religious because it's going to sell. Right. I'm not going to say, Ya Rasulullah. I'm not going to, it's using his name in vain. It's using God's name in vain. I'll sing about what is honest, what I feel.
So if it fits, you could use it.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay.
If it's honest, if it's from my heart 100%, if I'm feeling it, I'm not just going to do it for business.
And you're going to include a lot more English language in your work. Now, it's described as a crossover, if that's a fair expression. Is that a natural evolution in your work, or is that something you're deliberately looking towards?
I just feel like, as an artist who's a Muslim, who's proud of his faith, I just feel like sometimes, it's great that I've reached a certain stage where I'm so proud, all this stuff of Islamic pop and king of, it's all daunting, and it's I don't even want to, I don't want that to be attributed to me. I don't feel proud of it necessarily, but I mean the response of the fans, supporters, fans, different concerts, it's been phenomenal, it's been wonderful. But I just think at this time, I've got so much more to offer, I've got so much more to say and to make, and I just want to make that step to move on, to other things. Well,
Sami, as you know, our viewers take part with questions on this show, and we've got Anwar on the line from London. Anwar, what would you like to ask?
Oh, hello, good evening, assalamu alaikum. Sami, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you. And the second thing, I think the best thing in the era we are living is, I think if you write songs so that we can bring peace in the world and justice for everybody. And I think that will be your best success, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anwar. Right. Thank you. God bless you.
It's interesting, Sami, thanks for that, Anwar. It's interesting, we had an email, and this is something I know you have to deal with. Deborah in Kansas in the USA here wrote in this email saying, "In my opinion, based on the previous Bush administration, religion is often used to manipulate people to vote against their own needs. Deadly for a democracy." And I know that people are always looking for you to comment because they associate you with these religious songs. I know it's something you're moving away from. I'm wondering, is it hard to shift that Islamic pop singer image that you, as you say, you've got more to offer?
It is difficult, and Deborah is and definitely in some instances she's 100% spot on. Religion is something that is beautiful, can be beautiful, and it's also can be misused, and often is misused in all spheres, even in the in the music industry and different industries that exist. And it's just you know, I don't want to be somebody who people say, oh, he's making money out of religion, you know, he's making money out of Islam, he's making money out of the Prophet, you know, and because I'm a musician, I've got so much more to say, you know, I've got so much more to share with everyone, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to sing religious songs anymore, but it means I just want to move on.
And I know you do. That's what I'm going to ask you. Just a quick response for these two, because these come up. This Facebook email from Razia Khan in South Africa says, most South African Muslims received Sami with much enthusiasm when he performed here, but there were voices of dissension who regard the playing of musical instruments forbidden in Islam. What's your take on this? And then Mariam Blank from Birmingham here in the UK says, I respect your work as a singer and I like your songs, but I cannot understand why and how you use instruments and how you can believe they are allowed in Islam. I've heard about the issue of singing, but I've never really heard about the use of instruments so much.
Oh, it's time after time. It's the same thing. You hear it. It exists, you know, it's a fiqhi matter, it's a, Islamically speaking, from a religious point of view, it's a jurisprudence issue. It's a matter of jurisprudence between scholars, and there has been, you know, differences of opinion regarding the permissibility of music and instruments. Some say woodwind is forbidden, and woodwind instruments, some say strings are forbidden. The only thing that's allowed are the drums. And, you know, I choose the opinions of scholars who don't have a problem with music in itself. It's,
you
it's
yourself play what? About 10 instruments, huh?
They say.
Is it 10?
It's a rumor.
But it's quite a few. I know you're
well, you know, you know what we were discussing. I think we were discussing earlier about how, you know, one can play the piano, but doesn't mean he's a pianist.
Right.
I may be comfortable playing the piano and, you know, composing on the piano, but I wouldn't call myself a pianist.
Now, you know, talking of difference of opinion, I know you've moved on to new management, and the split with your previous managers was acrimonious and is still, you know, a point of contention. Something many artists have been through, from the Beatles to George Michael. What experience do you think you've gained from that?
Well, I think the most important thing, and I advise my fellow colleagues or young people who are interested in music, follow professional advice. You know, the first thing you should do is get yourself a manager or get yourself some serious advice in the music industry. There is no Muslim market. I actually, honestly, I have a problem with that term, Muslim market. It kind of, you know, Islam is not for sale. You know, you can't, it's like a Christian market or a Jewish market. And just get yourself advice. There is a standard that's out there in the world. You know, you're entitled to mechanical royalties. You have rights as an artist, as a musician. I was never, unfortunately, aware of these issues, but they're your rights. So the main thing that I've learned is that you should get legal, you know, seek legal advice.
Now, I know your website, SamiYusufOfficial.com, explains a lot of it from your perspective, especially the dispute over the newly released album. But we had a number of emails on that subject, so I have to touch on this, and forgive me, but here are a couple of them. First is from a viewer by the name of Afaf. Afaf Al-Madina wrote in saying, I do not think Sami's new album is as high in quality as his previous two albums. It sounds like a demo, an unfinished version, exclamation mark. And then from Iran we had one, actually. Mehdi and Majid wrote in from Iran saying, we heard about your newly released album, but also heard that it's not really your album. Is this true? Now, based on those comments, how important is it for an artist to have complete control of their work?
Look, for somebody who makes his own music, I sometimes ask others to co-write with me, and sometimes I ask them to write the whole thing, but generally speaking, I write my own music, from composition to arrangement to the instrumentation, orchestration, more or less everything. And the most successful songs I've had, like Al-Mu'allim, My Ummah, I've written myself. And when I say write, I mean lyrically, the lyrics. But a song, it starts off as an emotion, and it really, I'm sure most composers and musicians will agree with me, it's a baby, you know? Like, I'll give you an example. When I was contacted by Mark Foster to do the thing for the Kite Runner, you know, I read the script, and immediately I knew, it just came, you know. It just came, you know, the chords came, the melody came, and I was so moved by the story. And this was just an emotion, but honestly, I could tell 100% how this would sound in the end.
So you're very concerned about that. You're a perfectionist, basically.
Absolutely. And when I work, I get stressed. You know, I get stressed out to such an extent where I get spots and I get, you know, rashes on my skin, because it's got to sound right. That baby needs to grow. You know, it needs to it's got to mature, and have clothes and graduate from university, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Now, I say it's important in the interest of balanced reporting that we get the perspective of the company you're in dispute with.
Absolutely.
We won't go into the legal aspects, but Awakening Records did send us a statement saying the following. Sami Yusuf is signed exclusively to Awakening Records for 5 albums, and the 3rd album was officially and legally released on the 12th of January 2009. And the history of each of these songs is enough proof that every single one of the songs in the album are far from being work-in-progress demos, but are in fact all finalized songs of the highest quality, as all Awakening products are. Now, how's your response? You don't feel they're finished?
I think anybody who listens to the album, especially tracks like Sallu, He Is There, I mean, that's an MP3. He Is There was an MP3 leaked. Sallu, it's an MP3 leak. It's not mixed. The backing vocals are here, the main vocals here. It just sounds funny, you know. Anyone who's listened to music and knows music will know 100% something isn't right. You know, you can tell 100%. And you know, more than anything, honestly, the business side, the contract, all of that stuff aside for a moment, it hurts. You know, for me, it's traumatic. You know, to have my music, it's unprecedented. It's never happened. I mean, Prince had issues with Warner. He was locked into some kind of crazy deal for 15 albums, 20 albums, and he changed his name into a symbol, and he left, and one of his albums was called Slave. You know, he called it Slave because he felt he was a slave. But this is not, you can't even compare this. This is completely different matter altogether. You know, we're talking about demos. We're talking about unfinished material that I never even got the chance to finish, and it just, honestly, it really helped me.
Well, I hope it all gets resolved. Sami, we've got to take a break here. We're going to get more questions for you. As we take this break, more of our discussion with Sami Yusuf in a moment. Let me remind you, you can join the conversation with your questions and comments by logging onto livestation.com and entering the chat room. You can see there's a debate taking place there right now. We'll be right back.